They took rusted scraps from junkyards and turned them into rolling works of art. And then suddenly, the cameras went dark. Vegas rat rods burst onto the scene in 2014 and quickly became one of the rawest, loudest, most unapologetic car shows on TV. Sparks flying in the Nevada desert. A crew of welders, misfits, and artists building machines that look like they came straight out of a post-apocalyptic movie. But behind all that chaos, there were secrets, tension, sudden exits, and at least one story that still doesn't have an ending. So what really happened to the cast? And why did it all stop? If you missed it back then, picture this. Discovery Channel was riding high on car shows. Big personalities. Big builds. Big ratings. Then along came Steve Darnell, a guy who didn't care about shiny paint or perfect finishes. His idea was simple. Take beaten, forgotten metal, and bring it back to life as something wild.
No polish. No perfection.
Just attitude. These weren't just cars. They were stories on wheels. But here's the thing. How much of that story were we really seeing? Each build had a personality. A locomotive-inspired monster for one client. A tribute vehicle for veterans. One-of-a-kind machines that reportedly cost tens of thousands to bring to life. And at the center of it all? A shop called Welder Up. Loud. Messy. Alive. Filled with people who didn't always fit the mold. And maybe that's exactly why it worked. But when the camera stopped, what happened inside that garage? Because here's what most people don't realize. Not everyone left. Some stayed. No drama.
No announcements.
They just kept showing up and doing the work. Take Travis Dieter. Quiet. Focused. Always building. While others chased the spotlight, he stayed close to the craft, sharing his work online and letting the metal speak for itself. So why didn't he leave like the others? Then there's Justin Kramer. Third-generation welder. He was born into this world. Started young. Learned fast. By the time the cameras found him, he already had years under his belt. And when the show ended, he didn't go anywhere. Some people aren't chasing something bigger. They've already found where they belong. But does loyalty always come easy in a place like that? And you can't ignore Merlin Johnson. Decades of experience. The kind you can't teach. The kind you earn over time. He brought stability to a shop that often felt like controlled chaos. Still part of the crew. Still doing what he does best. Because when you've spent that long mastering something, where else would you go? Then there's Barber Dave. One of the most memorable personalities on the show. Upholstery, interiors, finishing touches. But his story took a different turn. After the show, he leaned into his other passion and opened a barbershop. Not your typical shop either. Think loud, gritty, full of character. Just like the builds he used to work on. But it makes you wonder, how many of them were living double lives even back then? While some stayed, others walked away. And that's where things start to get interesting. Because not every exit was quiet, and not every story feels finished. Take Steve Darnell himself, the man behind it all. His journey didn't start in Vegas. It started in Montana. Small-town roots. Hard lessons. Learning to work with steel before most kids even knew what that meant. That kind of upbringing shapes you. Makes you stubborn. Makes you creative. But does it also make it harder to work with others? He moved to Las Vegas and spent years building his name. Slowly. Quietly. Then came the build that changed everything. A diesel monster that turned heads across the industry. Suddenly, people were paying attention. And not long after that, the cameras arrived. By 2014, he wasn't just a builder anymore. He was a TV personality. But what happens when the spotlight hits someone who never asked for it? Even after the show faded, he didn't slow down.
Music videos.
Big builds.
Online course.
Events. The shop kept running. The creativity never stopped. In fact, without the pressure of filming, It may have gotten even sharper. So if everything was still working, why didn't the show continue? Before we get there, we need to talk about the departures. Because this is where things really start to shift. Twiggy Talent. Fan favorite. No question. She stood out. Not just because of her presence, but because of her passion for the craft. When she disappeared, people noticed immediately. And when she finally explained why, it surprised everyone. She left to go back to school. To learn more. To get certified. Not for fame. Not for TV. For the work itself. But how many people would walk away from a hit show to sit in a classroom? Then there's Grant Schwartz. A completely different story. He came in from a small town, chasing an opportunity. But what he found inside that shop wasn't what he expected. Chaos. Different standards. Different energy. And on top of that, time away from his family. It started to wear on him. So he made a choice. He left. Went back home. Built his own business. And turned that experience into something positive. But here's the question. How many others felt the same way but didn't say it? And then there's Cheyenne Ruther. This is where things get murky. She had the skills. But the screen time didn't reflect it. She spoke about frustration. About not being able to show what she could really do. And then she was gone. After that, silence. No clear updates. No confirmed path. Just speculation. And that's where it gets strange. Because in a world where everyone shares everything, why does her story just stop? As the cast shifted, the shop kept going. Builds continued. Tours opened. Fans could walk in, see the machines up close, even learn the craft themselves. It became more than a TV set. It became a destination. Weddings. Classes. Real work happening every day. So if the shop was alive, and the people were still building, what stopped the show? That brings us to the biggest mystery of all. Season 5. It was talked about. Expected. Even listed as coming. And then, nothing. No release. No clear cancellation. Just silence. To be fair, 2020 disrupted everything. Productions shut down. Plans changed. But most shows either came back or officially ended. This one did neither. It just faded. But why? Years passed. Still no answers.
No announcement. No comeback.
The show exists in this strange space. Not gone. Not active. Just paused. And that's what keeps fans talking. Still watching old episodes. Still asking the same question. Will it ever return? Because at the end of the day, the story didn't really end. Some stayed. Some left. Some built new paths. One disappeared into mystery. And the man at the center of it all? He's still out there. Still creating. Still turning scrap into something unforgettable. The cameras may be gone, but the work never stopped. And maybe that's the real story. But here's the question that still lingers. Is this the end, or just a pause before something bigger comes back?